Good evening. I'm Spot On Weather meteorologist Matthew Euler, and this title for this video is Winter Takes a Vacation. After a very rough past few days across Southeast Virginia with a major winter storm and some very, very cold temperatures much below normal, we are going to have a mild period in the long range. So let's start off with this Friday. And by the way, if you're superstitious, I'm reminding you that this Friday is Friday the 13th. So hopefully you're not too superstitious, but it is a Friday the 13th coming up. All right, so what we have going on, we have an area of rain showers basically to our west of Southeast Virginia at this time. We got a strong 1,048 millibar high, which is centered over western Wisconsin with much colder air, mainly centered over the upper Midwest into New England states. This orientation of this colder air will remain to our north this time. Here's your jet stream. The main jet stream axis is oriented more southwest to northeast. And I mentioned this before in previous videos that if your orientation of the jet stream axis, your polar front jet stream axis, is more southwest to northeast, this is where you're going to get milder conditions into Southeast Virginia. You can see the subtropical ridge, high pressure system here that's just bumping up again, raising heights just off the coast, off the east coast. But again, southwest to northeast orientation of the jet stream is just not going to allow much in the way of colder air to filter down southeast. So that's how we start the period. The few scattered showers off to the west. We're expecting to remain dry on Friday. It will be a little bit cooler. We will cool down a little bit between Friday and Saturday as a cold front moves through, but we will not get the brunt of this Arctic air that is well to the north. Okay, so moving on to Saturday, the 14th of January. Now we have a little bit of rain shower activity moving in as that front tries to push through. 1,046 millibar high situated over the St. Lawrence River Valley with a clockwise flow around it. That is going to bring in some northeast winds into Southeast Virginia on Saturday, which is going to cool those temperatures down from the 50s and 60s all the way down into the middle to upper 40s for Saturday. And we have some rain shower activity again in the area on Saturday. We're not expecting it to be a washout by any means. So if you have outdoor plans on Saturday, this Saturday coming up, at this point in time, it does not look like a washout. It looks like some scattered rain showers, some light rain periods. Now, if you notice, these isobars, these black solid lines are orientated in a more of a U shape. That's going to allow colder air. That's a cold air wedge signature where you get colder air funneling down from this high pressure system over eastern Canada into the eastern portion of the United States. And that happens a lot in wintertime, so you get some mixed precipitation as some southwesterly winds, some overrunning of moisture over the cold air results. So possible if you go further north and west of Southeast Virginia, of Hampton Road cities, you may run into some mixed precipitation on Saturday, but just all scattered light rain, liquid rain for Southeast Virginia for our area. Look at the orientation of the jet stream now. It becomes more zonal, more westerly at this point in time. Vice southwest. This is more southwest northeast orientation on Friday the 13th. By Saturday, it becomes more zonal west to east. Okay, so temperatures become more seasonal. Our average high this time of year, just as a reminder, is 49 degrees with the average low of 32. So we're going to have temperatures back into the 40s for highs with this kind of orientation of the jet stream, more west to east. You can see a much deeper trough there over just south of Southern California. So a deeper trough again, digging down to the southwestern United States into Mexico. All right, so for Sunday, the 15th of January, with the rain is projected to remain to the north at this time, along with some ice and snow into Pennsylvania, into New York, and into Connecticut. We do have 1,030 millibar high, fairly weak high, nothing strong, nothing significant like we're having tonight. But we will have some dry conditions for Sunday the way it looks right now for all your weekend plans. The orientation of the jet stream remains pretty much west to east. And the main jet axis, by the way, it remains to our north. So again, we're going to have a mainly westerly wind flow up at 30,000 feet, which is, again, going to keep temperatures fairly seasonal for this time of year. We don't expect any major warm-ups, beyond the 40s, anything too significantly warmer. Moving into Monday, January 16th, this is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So at this point in time, you'll notice that this 1030 millibar high, what's going to happen next Monday, the 16th of January, it's going to slide off the coast. The winds are going to start to become more southerly again. We have a 1003 millibar low that's located over the Midwestern United States, where most of the action with the weather is going to be occurring with some heavier rain over eastern Iowa and Illinois. And then we're going to have some snow on the low pressure system's backside back over Nebraska into Kansas. But again, for Southeast Virginia, we're looking dry. We are going to start warming up again. And so that'll be a common theme of the long range is milder temperatures. And the jet stream axis remains well to the north of Southeast Virginia. And we do have some rising heights again as a subtropical ridge from the southeast tries building northwestward. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Look at the absence in this jet stream. We do have a lot of waviness to it, but overall, we're looking at no amplification from northwest to southeast across the eastern United States. So no amplification from northwest to southeast, and that's going to result in mild conditions. Moving on to Tuesday, the 17th of January, we have southerly winds at this point over Southeast Virginia. We will have some scattered rain showers. Here's the next cold frontal system. The 1001 millibar low over Lake Superior, not exactly very deep or intense, but we do have some rain showers. Just shows you how mild the conditions are out ahead of a cold front that's over the Midwest next Tuesday the 17th. We have rain all the way up into southern Canada at this point in time, so the east is very, very mild, and the west actually is fairly mild too. The whole United States as a whole is fairly mild in this whole pattern. The jet stream more so of a trough over the central U.S. at this point. And then again, southwest to northeast orientation at the 30,000 foot level with the polar front jet. And again, that's going to result in southwesterly winds aloft and warm, fairly mild temperatures, above normal temperatures for this time of the year. On Wednesday, the 18th of January, the cold front comes through the area. We do have some colder temperatures on the backside. So you will see a little bit of snow in the mountains of West Virginia. Nothing major, though. Western Pennsylvania to western New York State. And heavier rain showers will be moving through as that front passes through. Another storm system approaches the western United States at this time. But overall, there's an absence of any kind of really cold air for January standards across the United States. This jet stream is going to be mostly a west to east, Pacific coast all the way to East Coast. No major amplifications of the jet from Canada, and that's going to again result in milder than normal conditions across most of the United States over the extended period. And then NOAA extended outlook shows this. For the 6 to 10 day period, January 15th to the 19th, NOAA is forecasting much above normal conditions across the eastern United States, a little bit of pocket of colder below normal temperatures over the Intermountain West. And then we move out to the day 8 to 14 time period. This is from January 17th to the 23rd. Again, much above normal conditions across the United States. As a whole, it's fairly mild for January standards. Now, notice what happens though, and I took a hard look at the charts before making this video tonight to share with you. But the coldest temperatures, they tend to back up, and they're more in northwestern Canada and Alaska over these extended periods. So much below normal conditions up in Alaska at this time. All right, in teleconnections forecast, we went ahead and took a look to see, do the teleconnections favor a certain type of weather pattern in the long range? Now, the Madden-Julian oscillation forecast, this is the actual and ensemble. It shows the Madden-Julian oscillation going to phase 8 briefly, then eventually to 1, and then wrapping back around to 2 and 3. Now, if the Madden-Julian oscillation goes to phases 8 and 1, that typically favors a colder than normal eastern United States. All right. For the Arctic oscillation, we're looking at a negative condition to the Arctic oscillation. It's going to run negative basically through about the 20th, middle of the month, mid-January through like the 20th, 21st of January. It's going to be negative, the Arctic oscillation. Now that would favor a colder than normal eastern United States. Looking at the North Atlantic oscillation, it is fairly consistent to being neutral. This is a zero line right here, by the way, the solid black line, 0. And you'll notice that it goes slightly negative, slightly positive. So on average, the North Atlantic oscillation is fairly neutral, so no significant changes to that teleconnection. Now the Pacific North American teleconnection, just again to refresh your memory, the Pacific North American teleconnection, when it's positive, or when you see these lines go up above the zero line, okay, that indicates a ridge in the western United States, so warmer than normal weather in the west, and a trough in the eastern United States with colder than normal weather. You can see there were some periods back in December where the Pacific North American pattern went strongly negative. So there was a lot of storminess and below normal temperatures in the western United States at this time. But for the most part, in the long range, from now and through about the third week of January, it's going to go from a negative state to a slightly positive state, and then back to a slightly negative state. So fairly neutral type conditions. More zonal jet stream configuration is what that tells me right there. So the long range final thoughts. We have a milder pattern that is in store for southeastern Virginia in the long range over the next 10 days. As Pacific air primarily dominates from west to east across the United States. Right? We have no major amplifications of the polar front jet stream from Canada. Okay. The coldest air remains over Alaska and northwestern Canada during the period, as I showed you by the NOAA outlook. If you notice, we'll back it up here. Colder than normal conditions in Alaska. Now they don't do the forecast for northwestern Canada, okay? They're just doing our United States territories forecast. But there's colder than normal air back here as well, over northwestern Canada and Alaska. But look at the above normal temperatures over the period as forecasted by NOAA. Whoops. All right, and then high temperatures will be in the 50s for Southeast Virginia, and they could get as high as the lower to middle 60s at times. Now, I will say that we will occasionally get into the mid to upper 40s for highs, but this is the predominant highs over the next 10 to 14 days. High temperatures in the 50s, as high as low to mid 60s at times, dropping down to the middle to upper 40s, but for the most part 50s and 60s. Low temperatures in the middle 30s, they'll range from the middle 30s to the lower 50s. We're not expecting no major winter storms for southeastern Virginia, with the exception of mixed precipitation farther inland, where you have that cold air wedge that is more prominent this time of year. Right? And then the Madden-Julian Oscillation forecast, MJO, is forecast to go to phase 8 and phase 1 by the end of January. The Arctic Oscillation negative over the next couple of weeks. The North Atlantic Oscillation nearly neutral. And the Pacific North American teleconnection is slightly positive and the negative again, closer to neutral. The Eastern Pacific Oscillation, Western Pacific Oscillation, positive phases. They're not shown, but they are going to positive phases, which is a warmer east. La Nina is weak at best at the present time and is forecast to transition to ENSO neutral conditions over the next 3 months between now and March. So the teleconnections are not showing any specific weighting for either a colder or warmer than normal period for the eastern United States. It will be mainly dependent on which teleconnections are the most dominant over the time period. That will tell the tale of what type of weather we're going to get in the long run. But right now it looks very mild. There are numerous indicators pointing to a colder than normal end of January and February. So we'll keep an eye on that here at Spot On Weather. And just to keep in mind, the highest climatological frequency for snowfall in this area is over the first few weeks of February. So just keep that in mind as we progress in through January, and I hope everybody enjoyed the presentation. This is Spot On Weather. Remember, if we're not spot on, we're not doing it right. Have a great evening, everyone.